As you saw there, that is Mike D from the 313's logo. But friends, welcome back to another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q, aka my real name. Now, before we jump into the interview with Stanley here, I just want to touch on what has transpired the last few days. I'm not going to get too deep into it. There are other podcasts out there that are going to cover that for us. I just want to, say my condolences to Terry Funk and his family, as well as Bray Wyatt and his family as well. Again, this is a fan-based podcast where we make the fan the superstar. That doesn't shy away from what those two men did in the wrestling world. I'm just not good with my words, and I don't want to misspeak. So I just want to put it out there that we do acknowledge that these great men have passed away, but I don't want to dive into their careers as well as memories and why, because you're going to get that everywhere else. And again, Stanley is the superstar here, and I want to kind of put that attention on him. So with that being said, one more time, rest in peace, Terry Funk, as well as Bray Wyatt. Thank you for everything you brought to us. And here's the new sponsor for Friends of the Squared Circle, and then we'll join Stanley here.
The official mobile app of professional wrestling. Whether you run a promotion, performance shows, or you're an avid wrestling fan, our one-of-a-kind all-in-one app is for you. Overdriver is specifically designed to grow promotions, accelerate talent careers, and help fans stay better connected to the sport. Thanks to Overdriver, promoters can easily search for and book talent, schedule and seamlessly promote shows, pre-sell and scan show tickets at the door. Wrestling talent of all kinds can increase their industry exposure with a free searchable profile, manage their calendar availability, negotiate and track their bookings, and accept booking payments. Fans can now easily search for wrestling shows, follow their favorite wrestlers and promotions, and purchase tickets all within the app. Fans want to buy tickets but don't want to build a profile? No problem. Guest checkout allows fans to easily purchase tickets without signing up for an account. Overdriver is packed with top-notch features like secured transactions for hassle-free payments between promoters and talent, as well as fans and promotions. A concise ratings and review system where talent and promoters can leave feedback to each other after bookings and publicly display their star status to demonstrate the quality of their brand. A built-in affiliate link structure to drive higher gate attendance by authorizing talent and staff to receive a commission incentive when tickets are sold through their unique affiliate links. Social media integration for coordinated marketing across various social platforms. Tailored push notifications to keep fans engaged about events booked nearby and by their favorite wrestlers and promotions.
Stanley, I can't thank you enough for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I know we were trying to line this up. We talked off camera why. We won't get into it too much here because work is work and this is the podcast. But we are excited to hear your fandom, and we want to talk about your podcast there at the end too. So let's not forget to get there. But let's just dive into it, buddy. Any thoughts on what we talked about there in the beginning there real quick? I want to make sure you get your time to put yours out there.
Absolutely. So. Yes. It's never good to lose anybody in this world. Death is never fun to talk about. It's a very serious and sad and tragic matter. And the world of pro wrestling's lost so many talented people over the years. I remember when Eddie Guerrero passed away. I was 10 years old, and I was stunned when he died. And I felt the same way when Bray Wyatt died. I remember when Eddie passed away, I was crying all week.
Yeah, I mean, it's people say, like, you don't know these people. Why are you so emotional? It's like, because they bring something out in us. That's hard to explain. I mean, when Dusty died, that was a big one for me. Or one of my favorite comedians, Ralphie May, passed away. I was just upset. Mm-hmm. It just hits a little different. You want to meet your heroes, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet those guys.
Right.
And they had a lot to do with my personality and my sarcasm, and I love Dusty to death. I got a tattoo of him right on my elbow. So
Dusty was a tremendous competitor and great personality, charisma, showmanship. Took part in some of the most brutal matches too. I mean,
yep.
cage matches, unbelievable. And to see what Cody's doing now and what Dustin's been doing throughout his career, it's very amazing to see.
It is. And then my first early memories of Dusty were the polka dots. I've gone back and seen some other stuff, but just him out there dancing, with Sweet Sapphire, like those are some core memories of wrestling as a kid. And I even told, $1 Million Man, like as a kid, I hated what you did to Dusty Rhodes. Like, I know we used the fake word, but at that time, I thought the $1 Million Man was the biggest prick in the whole world. So,
well, there's this thing called suspensive disbelief where it's not real, but they make you believe it's real.
Yep.
Like if you are taken in and you believe it's real, I mean, they're doing their job.
Yep.
And the thing is like with guys that we've lost over the years, I mean, they had that factor in them,
Yep.
But Terry Funk, I guess we'll start with him because, he's a legend. He was 79 years old when he passed away. I mean, what a career, like worked for so many different companies, wrestled in so many cities and states and towns. And who could forget his feud with Jerry Lawler? That empty arena match, one of the greatest of all time. His feuds with Mick Foley, on and off partnerships with Mick Foley, his friendship with him. I mean, that's second to none right there. Just what an amazing athlete he was. And he lived a full life. And then, the next day I was just stunned. Just like when I found out about Eddie, Bray Wyatt, 36 years old. I think a lot of people knew he was going through something because he was off TV, I want to say in February of this year, or shortly after Royal Rumble with the match with LA Knight. He was off TV, I want to say, for the better part of a year. He came back in, I want to say it was around this time. It was around October he came back at Extreme Rules. I remember a lot of people were complaining, that he got released, because I think there were reports like he had like creative differences and things like that. And, whether or not you want to believe those rumors is up to you. But I remember a lot of people complaining and upset that he was released. And when he did come back, I remember a lot of people were excited what he was going to do. It's a shame he never really went full on babyface. I think there were moments where he was, but we never really got to see that. But 36 years old, to hear that he died of a heart attack at that age is just devastating. And he had a bout with COVID. I mean, it just goes to show you that virus is still around. Not to get political or anything like that, but it's just a reminder that we've all got to do our part and be safe out there because it's not a joke.
And even if, like you said, not to get political, if you don't believe or believe, just remember someone else there probably does, just respect everybody. That's kind of what it's about. Just get along and move along. And, you say 36 too young and even 79 too young. It just, you wish you have more time with everybody. I wasn't, fortunate enough to meet either of those guys. When the Wyatt family first came in, I was hooked. But I was still stuck on the Daniel Bryan train. That's where this bad boy came from. Everybody always thought because of the Wyatts, but I was like, no, I'm a true and true Daniel Bryan guy. I did get to see, Bray wrestle a few times. But it's just, I'm 37. It's scary. I'm 37 years old and reality sits home. Like it just hits home. I had a buddy from childhood died last year, heart attack, man. Like I ain't getting any younger. I ain't getting any faster. So it's definitely eye opening. It reminds you, don't take anything for granted.
Certainly not. And my condolences goes out to the Rotunda family as well as the Funk family, because those two families have done a lot in the business, and they both will be missed.
Definitely. Well, we'll move on. We're here to talk about you. That's what we're all about here. Let's dive into your first earliest memories of wrestling.
All right. So I was about 5 years old when I just joined my dad one night. He turned on Monday Night Raw, and
Okay.
I think this was about the year 2000. So I caught the tail end of the Attitude Era. Stone Cold was out with a neck injury. Rock was like the number one baby face in the company. Triple H was the top heel at the time. McMahon Helmsley era. This is like during that whole period.
Okay.
So I got into it. I just was hooked right away. I could watch, I remember watching as many things as I could. Regretfully, I took a little bit of a break, I think, once the invasion stuff happened.
Okay.
And I missed the first part of the Ruthless Aggression era. I kind of say like I started watching the Attitude Era, but I'm kind of more of a Ruthless Aggression era kid. I regret kind of missing those first couple of years because I missed out on some good stuff, but I'm grateful that I got to catch a good chunk of the Ruthless Aggression era period, because there was a lot of good stuff in there that I got to see. I got to see Angle and Guerrero, Angle and Shawn Michaels, the rise of John Cena. I mean, Dr. Thugonomics, Booker T as King Booker.
Love it.
Batista, killing it, with Triple H. I mean, Undertaker, I feel like did a lot of his best work, in my opinion, probably around this time too.
Okay.
There were so many things I got to see, before the company went PG, that I think that, I'm glad I got to watch. So
yeah, definitely. Sorry, not to jump in too quick. All those names, Hall of Famers for sure. And they always said Raw was the popular show, but I feel like during that time, SmackDown was king, because I remember going back as well, because I fell out of it right after the Attitude Era. I got more into sports and stuff and girls, I guess you would say. But anywho, Brock, Edge, Angle, just ladder matches or cage matches all the time on SmackDown. Kurt Angle, when they throw that goat word around, there we go. He needs to be kind of knocking at that door, because he is a phenomenal wrestler. He's got a different type of promo. And I mean, as much as you hate to say it, like, he gets that crowd going with a "You suck" chant. That was one that I first kind of gravitated towards when I would dip back into the pool. But it was also Randy Orton that, sucked me back in 2008 with that Viper, character. But a lot of good wrestling that does get overshadowed by the Attitude Era, which is unfortunate, because I feel like the Attitude Era isn't that great. That's a hot take. Probably get a lot of hate, but with all those Jerry Springer storylines, I mean, it was kind of crap. You had your Austin's, Rocks, Triple H's, and, Taker there. But besides those, like, big 4 or 5 names, the rest was trash. Gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I feel like the Ruthless Aggression area does not get enough love, and it should.
It doesn't. I told a few people this. I think it combined what made the Ruthless Aggression era so unique and great was it combined the edginess of the Attitude Era with this awesome technical wrestling. I mean, you had Angle, you had Guerrero, you had Benoit, you had Mysterio, just tremendous action all across the board. A lot of people also kind of say SmackDown around 2004, like after Brock had left, wasn't as good. I actually am the opposite. I actually love that period because you still had, think about it. You had a lot of the up and coming guys get opportunities.
Yep.
And just to see that, I mean, JBL, for example,
Yep.
Farouk had left the company at that point, and what a reinvention he was.
Mm-hmm.
Bradshaw.
I didn't even know it was Bradshaw till I think 5 or 6 years after I started watching wrestling again.
Yeah, I mean that feud with Eddie, I mean, that's like a slept on feud. I feel like not a lot of people like actually look at it or talk about it because it brought out the best in both of them.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, we always like to talk about the characters here, not what they are really in their personal life, because in reality, everybody's going to let you down every day. Someone's going to let you down. We could talk about Kane, but it gets political. We could talk about Austin, and then it has the stuff with Deborah. So we're looking at characters here. You mentioned Benoit. Again, Randy. Shut up, Randy. I forgot to tell you about Randy. But it's just the fact that, we're so focused on our memories that it helps us wash that away. And people just want to dive in and ruin those memories, which I hate. Hence my status yesterday. People were, talking down about a few of the tribute posts. It's like, if you have nothing better to do, just get off the internet for the day and go outside. But I lost my train of thought there, getting angry about that post again yesterday. But ruthless aggression, Brock leaving, JBL, catching myself back up in my brain. Eddie Guerrero, phenomenal. Winning the championship, the lie, cheat, and steal thing, I just thought was great. And back to Kurt Angle, with that WrestleMania match where he takes off the boot. I think it's amazing. It's one of my favorite funny spots that he always used to do. Or he'd hit it, the chair, and throw it to the guy and fall down. Just little things that he did were great. Eddie Guerrero definitely in my top 10, and man, another one gone too soon. I don't want to go down those holes, but
yeah.
Back to you. Any early favorites that really stuck out in those first couple of years for you?
Well, I'm always going to say The Rock was my favorite wrestler.
Okay.
Just because of his promos and his charisma. Just the guy had a personality, not just Dwayne Johnson, the movie star. I'm talking about The Rock and how he could connect a crowd. It really was electrifying because he was able to do that. I've heard the stories about when he was booed as Rocky Maivia, how he had to turn heel and basically, flip the script.
Yep.
The guy was he was a natural at what he was able to do. Just incredible. I mean, Kurt Angle was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jericho. Oh my gosh. I mean, the best one-liners in the business. I just thought the Y2J character was one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big fan of when he became the suit wearing guy, but I can appreciate it now just because, like you said, you always have to reinvent yourself. Yep. I just thought Y2J was just, he was another fan favorite. Undertaker, obviously. I mean, I love the dead man gimmick. American Badass was pretty cool too for the time, but I'm always going to like the dead man.
Okay.
That was just, it really was, phenomenal and iconic in its own right. But those are my favorites.
Okay. Yeah, I got really back into it in 2008 to where I am now. Fandom, just as you can see behind me here. That suit wearing Jericho, man, I fell in love with that from the beginning.
Oh, sure.
His feud with Rey Mysterio and the masks. He tells the story how they did that spot over and over and they couldn't get it to work, and they went for it in the match, and he got it on the first try. It could be fabricated, it could be tall tale, but that was like amazing match between those guys. Chemistry back from WCW days. I was a huge fan of Jerry's show. I am so pissed still to this day that it broke up so soon because I just thought that was like an amazing tag team. And then I love The Miz as well. This is my only hate for The Miz is when they kind of shoved him off to Miz show, and I was like, you had it with Jerry's show. Why are you giving us no offense to Miz, because I love the Miz too, but like, why are you giving us the watered down version? Like, get him back with Jericho, who is the mega heel at the time. I loved Chris Jericho, still do. Again, character, not with his political crap out there. But I really enjoyed that suit wearing Jericho for sure. So
he definitely was able to, pull off being a heel just so well. Like he's one of those guys that I feel like can play the role of both a heel and a babyface really, really well. I guess even as Y2J, he was a pretty good heel too. Like I think back to like 02, 03 with teaming with Christian and
that's the storyline.
The stuff in the mid card. I thought it just was hilarious. The highlight reel. Who can forget about that? Lots of good moments on that, talk show segment.
And to think that he accidentally punched HBK's wife when they were doing that feud 2 back to suit Jericho, man, he didn't want to do it. Jericho's like, I won't even touch her, and then he knocks her out. Like, just
I remember that. Yeah, that's brutal.
That one's giving me goosebumps with Jericho. And then fast forward a little quicker, with him and KO, the list.
Oh, I love that period.
I
love that period.
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned earlier with your dad, you kind of watched it. Now, is he into wrestling? Has he taken to any live events?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've been to several shows with my family. My dad and I went to WrestleMania in Dallas last year. That was my first WrestleMania. I had a blast.
Can I pause you right there real quick? I got to get this out. This is for Anna, who is listening. You ruined my chance to go to Dallas and WrestleMania because you wanted to have your wedding. Okay, continue. Sorry, I had to get that out. I'm still angry about it. My buddy got married, and she had it on WrestleMania weekend. Okay. I'm upset. Go ahead. Back to Dallas and you.
It was just a jaw-dropping experience because I got to meet several wrestlers.
Very nice.
I got to go to the show, take that experience in. It was like going to Disney World. It really was. And then I went to SummerSlam last year in Nashville as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I'm actually going back to WrestleMania next year. I just got my tickets for Philadelphia. So
very cool.
I'm looking forward to that experience. I'm looking forward to that as well. So I just, I kind of got the bug from there to do this podcast. I'm in radio, by the way. So I enjoy being a DJ personality. Still want to do that, but I thought this podcast would be a great side hustle, great way to, make some extra money. And I thought it would be just pretty cool to be able to do that. And I enjoy it, man. It's a lot of fun.
It is. We talked off camera about how it's a lot more work than just putting a little video on the internet. You're clipping it, you're setting up interviews, you're constantly on social media. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, and I'll say it here and I'll say it on my dying breath when I'm done with this podcast thing that I do or wherever this leads. It's not as easy as people think, and I give a lot of credit to the Paul brothers and other social media people that have grown to leaps and bounds because they, found a way to make it and they're continuing to push their brand, and quick side note on, Logan in wrestling, he is killing it. For anybody that doesn't think he deserves to be on the card, they're wrong. The man has 1 million bazillion followers. I don't even know what he's at, probably like 42 million. He's bringing different eyes to the product. And if you are a wrestling fan, we need that. We need eyes on our product. We need eyes to see what we're doing so that not only wrestling succeeds, independent wrestling succeeds, because someone's going to see Logan Paul doing some flippy thing to Ricochet, and they're going to be like, wrestling? they're going to see that wrestling poster at the local mall with guys and gals that are coming up and be like, hey, I want to check that out. That's going to help the independent wrestlers. That's going to help us podcasters who are at these shows to get our brand up, because they're going to fall in love with wrestling. Who doesn't? Randy, shut up. Again, forgot to tell you about Randy. That's going to help our viewership, because we're going to gain a new follower friend. And it's going to trickle down to, if they're bringing a friend as well, that it's more than him just taking a spot on a pay-per-view, folks. You have to look at the bigger scheme. And I'm sure, Stanley, you've done this too, where you played fantasy booker in your head. And you're going to put the guys on the card that you like and are going to bring people in. You have to bring people in. You need to bring an audience in. And I love wrestling fans, and I also sometimes hate wrestling fans, because sometimes we think we're smarter than we are, but they're not looking at a big business picture. And I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the world, but I see things a little different. Like when that guy's on the trailer, that's advertising. That's getting you to find out, why is Logan Paul on the trailer for wrestling, And same with LA Knight. I'll touch on that real quick, and then we'll jump back into you. Everybody wants him in the main event scene right now, and it's just like the main event scene is locked. It's locked down. Like, they're leading to WrestleMania right now. Yes, you can pull an audible with like Daniel Bryan, but he was already on that trajectory going to WrestleMania. They just switched a match. Jey Uso, everybody's like, he deserves the title. He's done so well. It's like, let it play out, and then let's go back and change up the next year's, formula. LA Knight is hot. I get it. I don't see the big buzz. That's me personally, but he's going to get there, folks. Just give it time. Give it time, and then he'll be there. So, but back to you.
Yeah, I think Logan Paul is definitely somebody that's put in the work. I've got a lot of respect for how he's taken to the business. Just like Bad Bunny, he's another one that I think should be credited as well, because he grew up a fan, and he was able to, study up on, what made his favorites, what made his favorites work, so well in the ring. And he was able to take that and practice the moves and get the training in, putting in the reps and everything. And he had a great match with Miz and Morrison a couple of years ago. He had another impressive showing at Backlash earlier this year. So
with Damien,
So I can definitely respect people that want to put in the work and do it. So Logan Paul is phenomenal.
Yeah, and with that Bad Bunny, I was at WrestleMania there in Tampa. I think it was the best time that I was able to go. Was the COVID, the first one back. There was 7 empty seats to my left, 7 empty seats to my right, and there were 3 people on each side, and it was amazing. Like, it was a scarce crowd for a WrestleMania, but there was so much room to run around and cheer. I remember after Bobby Lashley won, I jumped up and I sat down right away. Like, oh, and the lady's like, "Don't worry, no one's behind you." I was like, "Oh, you're right," But I never seen so many Bad Bunny shirts in my life. Like, it was crazy. I think like every fan that I could see either had like the Drew or the Bad Bunny shirts, and again, tapping into a network where wrestling isn't really thought of, but Bad Bunny brought more fans in.
It's definitely cool to see celebrities be fans of wrestling. It's definitely hid that stigma of fans that watch it. You get to see so many people get into it. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and I'm sure just like me and just like WWE and yourself probably, we're using those things in hopes that it brings in viewership. You've had a few guests on your show, the Sarge, great episode. Check it out. He'll give you the links here soon at the end. As well as you just had, is it Angelina Love, right?
Yes, Angelina
So,
Love.
I mean, that's another person that you're bringing in to help, get you to the next level. And it's respect, man. Like, you're hustling and grinding too. You're getting big interviews. Jealous, but we focus more on the fans, which is fine. But you're doing what it takes to get there, and you see a big name or a name. I'm sure I'll get eat up on some things here, but you're seeing value in someone, and they're going to help you get to the next level. Just like, this isn't a slam against any of my friends or followers or people that I've met. Honor Elite, Cruising with Kayfabe, Mike D and the 313, as well as Mayhem Medium. We're all working together and pulling each other as we go, and we talked off camera about that. We're all trying to get to a certain spot, and sometimes we need other people to help us to get there, and there's no shame in that.
Definitely.
There's no shame in that, because who knows, we could post this video up and we could pass, AEW Germany as the top views there in just a matter of seconds, because all it takes is one video to go viral. And, next thing you know, you're bagging bigger fish, so.
Yeah, I started my podcast just looking at, there's so many podcasts with wrestling, so many wrestling podcasts out there. And
I found a lot of them recently.
Yeah. But doing a lot of research before I started this, there really was not a podcast devoted to the work that a lot of these people do outside of the ring. A lot of stuff with, doing acts of charity or community service or volunteering, or just has a story that they want to pay forward to somebody else that can inspire someone or motivate somebody else. And that's kind of what I wanted to concentrate on with my show. I still want to talk about, the stuff that they've done in wrestling throughout their career, but it's good to have some different takes on the business. And especially positive ones, because we all need some positivity in the world with everything that's happened the last few years. And so that's kind of what I wanted to focus my show about.
Yeah, it's a whole new take, and that's what I think is so great. I mentioned all those other podcasts. You got Honor Elite; they're covering strictly AEW. Cruising with Kayfabe, they have a different take on it. They do a lot of stuff in regards to the Jericho Cruise. Mike from the 313, he's still trying to figure out what that niche is, with that being, talking about what he hates this week and what he likes this week in wrestling. You're doing like you said, the people doing community service. I'm the fan perspective. I want to know why you are a fan. When it comes to the wrestlers coming on, I don't want to know too much about your career. We'll touch on some highlights because that's important. I want to know how you got into that wrestling ring. And then the next podcast, like, Mayhem Media, they're going to pick up kind of where I left them and say, let's talk about your career. So there's so much out there. Even the Ego Drip podcast, they talk about wrestling fashion. Never in a million years did I think I would be interested in learning about wrestling fashion, but it's a different take. And that's what, Hambone's doing over at Ego Drip. Yeah. So there is so much out there that is to be discovered about pro wrestling, and we're all getting a different piece of it, and I love it. It's a great wrestling community that we are building. Selfless Brag just hitting the 850 on the Facebook. We're getting you close to 400. I think you're there almost, right?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, almost at 400 likes. So the more people want to check out the page, I'm on all social media platforms. We'll get to that in a little bit too.
Yep, and we're gonna start plugging the hell out of you, man.
Thank you.
We're building this friendship. We're here to drag you with us because we want everybody to succeed. That's not just a tagline. I'm not just putting it on the internet. It's real life. You've seen on the pages every Wednesday. I'm sharing everybody as I can. Eventually, it's gonna have to somehow figure out a faster way to do that for people. But what made you? I know you said you got the radio background, but what led you to that? Is there like a family member that's also into it? Did you just happen to think that's a career choice that you wanted to pursue, or?
I think I always wanted to do something in entertainment. And, I think, when I was younger, I always wanted to
Okay.
I did film for a little bit, and video production. But once I started doing radio shows at my college, I just fell into it. I just was hooked right away.
Very nice.
I love doing weekly radio shows, and I started doing a community radio show locally on piano players because I'm a musician too. I play
Okay.
piano, and it's called the Piano Men. I've been doing that for 7 years on a local access station.
Okay.
It's syndicated on many non-commercial radio stations across the United States, and I've had several guests with that one. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jim Brickman. He's a piano player. Okay,
nope, sorry.
So I've interviewed pianist Jim Brickman. John Tesh is another one. He did the theme for NBA on NBC years ago.
Cool.
Round Ball Rock. I've interviewed some guys that have worked with artists like Bruce Springsteen or Steely Dan.
Very nice.
And Christopher Cross. The list goes on. And I'm hoping to, interview more pianists and more musicians in the future. But I like I said, I wanted to get this off the ground because, like with anything, it's just everybody's got to start somewhere, and you got to start small. And so I kind of wanted to work my way up because there's like I said, so much wrestling content out there, so many wrestling podcasts. And so I'm trying to just, build it up as quick as I can and as best as I can because, with the internet and with social media, that's how you do it. So trying to get as big of a following as I can to start. So, and who knows, I'd love to make my show a radio show someday, take it to different places and, offer it for syndication, Who knows?
And you could use that platform, if the wrestling one grows, you could start, like a second branch off, like where you have your music stuff, and you could even, tie wrestling into that. I mean, I thought this was going to be a monthly episode that I would do. I never thought in a million years that it would be weekly because I wasn't ready for that hustle. Next thing you know, I added in the first couple episodes. I know you're new to the Friends of the Squared Circle. Where I was having people show off their collectibles at the end is another thing to, brag about, to have more interaction with the guests. Well, we'd just get talking wrestling and we wouldn't get to that aspect of it, and it was driving me nuts. I was like, I want to see what they have. So off camera, we'd talk. Well, then next thing you know, I have Show Me the Collectibles as its own episode. Well, then I'm having people message me like, hey, man, like, yeah, I'd love to come on, but I don't have wrestling stuff. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I just kept getting that response. Well, I don't have anything wrestling. What do you want me to show you? And then I realized, well, Show Me the Collectibles is going to be just collectibles. I moved the Ninja Turtles before you came on because they were all knocked down back there. But so now Show Me the Collectibles, which was initially just a spoof on the original episodes, is now it's its own show and evolved into all collectibles. Shout out to Vanessa, the Casper collector, Guinness Book of World Records. Tristan, Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. I loved Casper. Funko Pop Girl. She's got an amazing Funko Pop collection. The wrestling and collectibles communities are so great that I've met so many cool people. I want to name everybody that I talk to, but I don't have enough time on each episode.
Sure.
But also with these podcasts, is I'm learning stories about what wrestling and collecting has brought to them. And, again, shout out to, the UK, Clarkson. He's just starting out over there wrestling. I don't want to dive too much into his story, but it's a unique one, as well as Richie Jewell, advocating for autism, Nick, wrestling with, PTSD, so I'm getting all these great stories, and I'm so humbled by it that I need to do better so I can tell their stories better. And then I just love name dropping. I'm sorry, Stanley. Fuzzy and Toys on the Table, just saying like the reason they loved X-Men is because the comic books helped him to learn to read, as well as Fuzzy talking about Donatello made him want to be smart like Donatello. So there's a story behind each wrestler, each toy. And I'm so grateful that they shared those stories with me. I'm not just throwing these out on the internet, folks. They have said these on each episode. So you can go back and watch Chiefless plug again. But there's so much to wrestling that people don't understand. They just see it as fake. We get criticized a lot for that. But yet, people watch Walking Dead. There's not zombies. You watch Game of Thrones. We don't have dragons flying around. But it's definitely something a lot of people are passionate about. I know I'm passionate about it. You're passionate about it. And people just need to relax. Let us enjoy our stuff like you enjoy yours. So
I look at it specifically through the lens of a TV show that happens to have some athletic, backdrop to it.
Yeah.
It's really, it's just a mix of so many different art forms. It's hard to really explain what it is. It's a weekly episodic show, just like the shows you mentioned. So, everybody has their own, thing that they're into, So I'm proud of being a wrestling fan, and I'll always be a wrestling fan. I think that there's a lot of stigmas, fake or for kids only or whatever like that. And I'm like, if you'd show somebody like a New Japan match or one of those old matches with the flaming tables, I'm like, I don't know if you'd want your kids to watch that.
Yep. There's so many styles. There's comedy, strong style, hardcore, mat wrestling. I like grappling. I like high flying. Some of those, build-ups, between Brett and Owen. It's slow, and then it's fast, and they slow it back down.
Yeah.
Then you got the flamboyant, nature boy out there wooing and strutting, for another reason, so wrestling's for everyone,
Absolutely.
Again, another friend, First Wrestling, plugging their tagline, so many demographics, so many people of different origins and everything else. And it's amazing. If there's something you love, I'm sure wrestling has something that caters to you. So
I was surprised. A lot of celebrities, like I said earlier, are into pro wrestling. There was Vanessa Hudgens of High School Musical fame posted something about Bray Wyatt. Posted something about Bray Wyatt, and I was like, "Wow!" So it just goes to show, like, it just reaches anybody.
Yep.
And I'm sure, like, there have been others, that have gotten into it as well. But I was like, "Wow!"
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but it's kind of like the comic book stuff that's out now. Everyone is a fan of that stuff. But me growing up, like, Pokemon was like the weird thing. Yes, I remember all you high school bullies and middle school bullies. Just kidding. I got out of it in high school. But, the classic 80 cartoons, Ninja Turtles and stuff like that was kind of like, it was my hidden favorite stuff. But now it's all like front and center in media. And it's just like, so the weird kids are now the cool kids. I love it, So it makes me think of 21 Jump Street. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah,
he tries to go in there all, Mr. Big Shot, and then he's the one that's shunned when the nerdy kid is the more popular kid. So it's just, it's great. I love it. So
it's amazing, man. It really is. There's just nothing like it. Nothing like pro wrestling in the world. Just
Yeah. So, but before we get you out of here, let's plug that podcast.
Yes.
Let's promote your stuff. But real quick, it's a hot take. I know we don't have a lot of them here too much. This will be where I probably trim it for TikTok at the 44-minute mark, just to remind myself. You said you love music. Give me 3 of your wrestlers who are involved in music that you really enjoy. 3 wrestlers that you enjoy that also do music.
Okay, well, Jericho would probably be number 1.
Okay.
Just because I've heard a few of Fozzy's songs. They're really good. trying to think of anybody else that does music on the side. I know Edge plays guitar from what I understand,
Okay.
or if I saw, but I don't know if I don't know if he has a band. I think Lita was involved with music at a period of time, so I'd put her on that list too.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's any like, oh man, that's a tough one. I'll just say those three.
All right. I mean, you got Jeff Jarrett. He's always out there with a guitar, bro.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff Hardy. There you go.
There
Jeff
we
Hardy.
go. There we
Jeff
go.
Hardy.
Yep,
There we
Jeff
go.
Hardy. And I know there's a few other ones. R-Truth. If that is one you need to check out as well. Not going to lie, I have a few of him on my old MVP. Yep. Love MVP. But yeah, R-Truth, there's a few songs that I've had. I was like, man, I wish I could use that for my intro with the beats, but YouTube and copyright. But all right, Stanley, let's plug that podcast, as well as any other projects you're working on. Does not have to be wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as send me those socials, and we will follow ones that we're not already following.
Yes, for you. Sure. So I am on Facebook. Find me at Stanley Karr. You can find me there. Wrestling with Heart. We've got a Facebook page, Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr. We're on Instagram at Wrestling with Heart. Threads, Wrestling with Heart. And we're on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
That's WWHSK. Just find us there. And we're on YouTube, Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr. We're on so many different podcast platforms. We're always looking to add more subscribers. So please, check out so much. We've got so much content coming your way. So we talked about earlier, Angelina Love. I've interviewed Baby Doll. That's my highest rated video right now. Al Snow was on my show. Stevie Ray. Devon Dudley. He's a future guest.
Okay.
Just so many more. Ariel Sky. She's on the Women of Wrestling Superheroes. I interviewed her recently, and Elijah Burke. So we've got so many people coming on the show.
Very nice.
So look out for more.
All right, Stanley. Well, Stanley, I can't thank you enough for dealing with the scheduling that we've had over the last few weeks. I'm honored to call you a friend. Love to get you on here so we can talk more wrestling instead of what we kind of dived into today. But this is your introduction. I am looking forward to more chats, more collaborating. Let's help you get to where you want to go. And before we play that beautiful video package here, as I like to say, thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle.
Thank you very much. Honored to be on.
All right. We'll chat off camera. Bye. Hey, friends, thanks for tuning in to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name. Now let's jump into those sponsors, shall we? Make sure to check out ChefKeithFoods.com for all of your salsa needs. The best made fresh since 2019. Flavors include Ragin' Reaper, Hoppin' Habanero, Groovy Garden, and more. Check out that website today. Also, check out our friends over at Superior Creations for all of your custom tumbler needs. They are on Facebook.com/Superior Creations MN. Also, Darren Corbin, give him a like on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. And another great way to support Darren is by checking out patreon.com/Darren Corbin, where tiers start at just $1. Last but not least, make sure you give us a like and follow on all of our social medias as well. We want to thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. Tune in for more episodes. Also, if you want to get merch for yourself, you can check out friendsofthesquaredcircle.org for all of those needs. And it's your boy, Crander Q. Crander Q out.